Yeah, thank you so much, Phyllis. I believe you can hear me.
Yes, we can
Hello.
hear you. Yes,
right,
go
very
ahead.
good. Thank you. I'm very happy. Please be around. My network is not so good, so if it happens to cut off, we take it on. But thank you very much for this opportunity. We want to look at how to leverage what we are actually doing to contribute to the transformation of Africa's food systems. Very good that Habiba has said so much about the Egypt case, and I was so excited about the whole idea of a new Egypt, a new rural Egypt. I believe if Africa can go that way to have a new rural Africa, it will make a very big difference. Because we are talking about building food systems that promote healthy diets and that are resilient and sustainable for all persons. That is basically, I would say, a summary of what this food systems transformation is all about. We've heard so much concerning food environments, and we all know that we are not achieving, at least we are not on track to achieving the zero hunger. We are not on track to achieving the global nutrition targets, and therefore we have to do a lot of work. And healthy diets, as we have heard over and over again, we are very far from it. Very few people can claim to be having healthy diets. So in this session, we just want to see how what we have been discussing over the few weeks, how will what we have been discussing contribute to transforming Africa's food systems. With that, I'd want to open the floor. Yeah, I'm back. Yes, thank you. So I'll open it for all of us to make our contributions to how do we leverage all that we have heard over the few weeks, and especially today, to transform Africa's food systems. I think, as I said, Habiba has already given us the leeway. She has told us so much, and she talked about the healthy consumption patterns, which she believes Egypt is not on track with that, but it looks like Sub-Saharan Africa is more on track. So can you just raise your hand and then please go ahead and make a contribution. Anybody's hand up? Yes, Billy?
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, please. It's
okay,
loud and
brilliant,
clear.
brilliant. Yeah, very good to listen to this presentation over the few days and the previous one. I'm based in Finland, and it's interesting to see how we can make those transformations. As somebody who was born and bred in the African continent, we often talk about this link between climate change, food security, the health of individual, and also the planetary health. So I think to make those transformations from the African perspective, the continent is blessed with a lot of resources. So this calls, to my mind, to look more inward, see how we can add value to those raw food crops, which means going into the issue of processing. And of course, I think Africa has to learn from the mistakes from the industrial world, because most of the greenhouse gas emission has been largely from industrial countries. So if Africa needs to industrialize, to my mind, it has to be similar to the issue of this mobile phone, because Africa just went through to this GSM without going to all these landlines. So now this is something that is quite prominent in Africa, this mobile phone. So I think the same thing in terms of processing. When the time comes, it has to be a smarter way, take advantage of not using the fossil fuel to drive energy, because we often talk about the food, energy, water nexus. So the energy in this sense to drive those agenda of transforming, especially the local and traditional foods, is got to be green. So which means also looking at issues of so-called additive manufacturing, whereby you can manufacture within the local communities in a more smarter way, because it has often been said the issue of this food system is not only just consuming the food, but also the issue of transporting the food over long distances, importing those things that were taken from, for example, Ghana is very rich in cocoa. So the cocoa is taken over to the industrial countries, and it is processed into chocolate, and you then have to import back chocolate into the society. I think, I could see there's signs of this already happening, that local manufacturing is also important, adding value to the food crop. So this is something that I think is important when we think about transforming the food system. Keep as much local things as possible, then other things will fall in place. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dele. For all of us, let's be straight to the point so that as many people as possible can contribute. We have only 30 minutes. Dele, thank you very much. Very important points you've made. Any other person, just put up your hand. If you are finding it difficult to find the hand up tag there, just unmute and start talking. Maybe that will help. Laurent, are you ready to talk? You have unmuted yourself. Any other person?
The interpreter. So
okay.
I have a little comment from my end.
Yes,
I think
go ahead.
With our theme, what FERN I see symbolizes is what we've been talking about in different formats, which is this multi-sectoral collaboration and approach that we've taken to the food environment and food system transformation. And the good thing about this network is also multinational, which has an added official layer to it. So I think that is what we actually need to focus and leverage on, because working in silos and you can even see from some of the presentations where you have a bulk of information or evidence from just one sector, where equally important sectors seem to lack a lot of evidence, which we need to make a concerted decision. So I think what we want to achieve with FERN, and what I hope we have achieved to some extent during all this 3-day event, is strengthening these collaborations, seeking these opportunities for further collaboration, and also strengthening these multinational connections so that we can have a concerted effort in trying to transform Africa's food systems. Thank you.
Excellent, Phyllis, that's great. Yes, we're talking about multi-sectoral, but FERN has brought this multinational collaboration, learning from each other, knowing what is happening in Kenya, Tanzania, and so on, and Egypt, in a very beautiful way. That is the way we could go. We can learn from each other and then implement some of the things across nations. That's excellent. Thank you so much. Any other person? Please, we have 30 minutes. Can we make, I know we are already making beautiful contributions. I'm not seeing any hand up. Yes, Nuclear Data. I don't know who is that. It's not a name, but then please can you go ahead?
Yes, I'm Dr. Tom Ndano from Ghana. I followed the discussion, very interesting.
Yes, please go ahead.
Earlier on, there was a presentation on the regulatory framework and the role the multinational food producers play. What interaction is going on between the FERN and some of the regulatory authorities? Has there been any discussion with some of the huge multinational food producers? Because they have a very big role to play. If we don't get them on board, how best can we persuade them to respond to the new changes or transformation we want to bring on the continent? I just want to know. I haven't heard much about that.
Thank you. That's very true. extremely true. The very big commercial food processing groups, how are they part and parcel of this? Again, that is part of the collaboration we're talking about, and we bring them in for wider discussions. Great. I saw another hand that has gone down already. Why? Any more? Still have time? Yeah, in the area of, we are talking of food environment, we talked a lot about the energy sufficient diet, the nutrient adequate diets, the different kinds of diet, healthy diet. How do we make sure that these are available? Again, going back to the production area. How do we make sure that, because if the thing is not available, yes, well, we will not even be talking of consumption. Somebody mentioned something very important, I think, that local home consumption, home production, sorry. Home production, I'm not too sure we'll be talking much about that. Even backyard gardens and all that. Those are things that, because we are talking of safety, people are saying they are not eating vegetables because they are not sure where it's coming from. All sorts of things. Is this backyard gardens generally, will it not be a good area of probably looking at some of these things that we're talking about? Just a question to all of us. Anybody? People still thinking?
Prof.
Yes.
Hello. Yes. Somebody mentioned
and go ahead.
that to augment the production.
Paulina, okay.
To source from household sources, and these are the good areas we can push, because even for our data systems, we don't capture a lot of these nourishing foods that supports good nutrition. And if we are doing it at household level, I think that is the way to go, if I have to put it that way, because there's so much we can do on our own to guarantee the availability and also the safety. So if households are into own production of the foods that will support good nutrition, I think we'll cut the food prices.
Very good, thank you. So the food safety, the prices.
A fraction, and that food safety and the price, yes. Because if we are augmenting the food supply from your own sources, you will not buy. So you could use the money to do some other thing. And that for me is a good one. And in the home, we also inculcate the practice of food production in our children. So once they begin to appreciate some of these things, it stays with them. So that is what I can add. Thank you.
Yes, very good. But
Prof. Sarita, hello. Hello. Okay. He might have dropped off.
Yeah,
I just raised my hand. I wanted to hint him that I think my colleague and others have posted comments, and I wanted them, if they could just verbalize their comments. If you could elaborate on your comments. So, Prof. Ayite, you have a comment on gender and urbanization. Would you want to speak to the comment? And then we get back to Reverend Dr. Indanu.
Thank you. I just wanted to highlight some of the cross-cutting issues that are very important, that I don't think we should lose sight of as we talk about specifics. One of them is gender. In other studies that we have done, women tend to be very prominent in the food systems across the entire value chain. And I think that whatever interventions that we do, we must really pay attention to the role women play, but also to better understand the different dynamics of gender on the food system. Also urbanization. I mean, urbanization is really happening at a quick pace in the African setting. It will be good to now start programming that focus attention on food systems in the urban areas. We haven't actually started doing that because governments have not developed programs that focus directly on the changing dynamics in urban areas, and I wanted to reflect there. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you. Reverend Dr. Indana.
Yes, thank you so much. There were two things that I wanted to add. The first one is FERN, the food environment must also is taking care of information about the food production from the source. Two things I want to make. Is there any attempt to get a database for the common foods eaten in a given community readily available in that ecological zone? Because we are tending to concentrate on just few food items while we have the wild and broader ones. Is there any attempt by FERN to look at what total, any database, a source of information about the commonest readily available food in the environment, those that were eaten before culturally? Is there any attempt? Secondly, concerning the food production, is there any idea about the land tenure system that can influence the food production itself? I don't know whether this falls under the purview of the FERN network. I don't know. It's just coming up because I wanted to throw it out and let's see. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes. Over
Prof,
to you, Prof.
you
Prof is back. Over to you. I had stepped in when you dropped off.
Yeah, when I was almost getting off, yes.
Yes, but if you would allow me then to just maybe a few seconds to respond to Reverend Dr. Indanu.
Yes, please, go ahead.
Yes, and I agree with you. He's raised really important issues or questions that those of us who are interested in the work of FERN and are part of FERN network should consider. My very short response to your question, I'm so sorry to all participants. I must warn you, there's a participant here with me. I'm not able to control when she speaks. So you can hear some noise at the background. So looking at the concept of food environment and looking at the theme of this year's FERN, even expanding to food systems, I would want to believe that we are, as a network, interested in all aspects of the food environment, and is a concept that is much broader than, that is really broad and includes those issues raised by Reverend Dr. Indanu. So briefly, we are interested in that, but the few who are currently members of FERN may not be able to address all this. And that is why it's important to have stakeholders with expertise like you to be brought on board to contribute to what we are attempting to achieve, which is not for us as individuals, not for Ghana, but for Africa. So thank you for those important suggestions. Reverend Dr. Indanu, over to you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's very good. And I want to stress on one of the points he made. We've been concentrating too much on just a few commodities, and the variety is what we are talking about. And therefore, we should widen our attention to the things that actually make for adequate nutrition or adequate health diets that we're talking about. All right, somebody's hand is still up. I don't know who that is. Sorry. If your hand is up and I have not called you, please just unmute and go ahead. Is there anybody contributing, please?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please. Is that Ayala?
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very maybe sorry to, make this type of contribution I want to make now. It's just that it's a point I want to make. You see that the program of FERN, the suggestions or recommendations of FERN cannot be complete if we are only looking at maybe food security, maybe under normal circumstances. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is that there are some circumstances right now that are not normal, in the sense that when you look at the food security and the food crisis in areas that are, affected by insurgents, you see that it's a different ball game altogether. And it does not look like the normal thing that we have been discussing here. So you see, like in some places now, like in Nigeria, it's a different ball game. So I would also want us to, extend, some of our investigations, concerning food security, food crisis in such areas, because it's a different ball game altogether. Now, we all know the role of women in food security, in food chain system, food chain, and we know that when these people are displaced and they cannot do anything and will just be dependent on other sources, you see, the food system there is disrupted and is entirely a different ball game. The men there also are also affected, and you see that they cannot do anything. It's a different ball game altogether.
Yeah.
So,
okay, thank you, Emeka.
I just want to chip in.
Emeka.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that contribution. Yes, it's true. There are particular places where we really have crisis, and we are saying that in talking about food systems and so on, we should remember that maybe peace building, getting things ironed out and so on. But you realize that those are things a bit far above maybe what we can discuss at our level, because these are, I would say, more of peace building things that I'm not really sure just talk about food environments can really tackle, but they are very important. We should incorporate them into our discussions. I agree with that perfectly. Thank you so much, Emeka. Any other hand? Ayala is putting something on the chat. Can somebody read it for me, please? The chat.
Okay, I'll go ahead and read it for you. So we have a broad question saying, how do countries learn from one another? Beyond periodic meetings, is there potential for more personal mentorship between agencies and individuals who have done a better job at monitoring food system transformation to mentor those in countries that have done less? I think a practical question trying to find out how we can collaborate as different countries have different levels of progress in different areas. How would be able to learn from each other? Amos, you want to address this?
Thank you, Phyllis. Yes, and that is a very, very important question that speaks to the aims and motivations for a network like this, and of course, already existing networks and societies. So, for example, if you take the African Nutrition Society,
I'm in an internet environment in which it's not easy to continuously have a very good network. Yes, but that's important. But I can see that somebody wants to respond to that. But I can also see
Amos, I was just responding to that very important comment.
Can you probably respond to Ayala's?
Amos is responding to a text that was read, so I would come in after him.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, so as I was saying, it's an important contribution, and this it speaks to the visions, goals, or motivations of FERN, but also existing networks and societies. And so for FERN, how do we learn? How do we share? A platform or an opportunity has to be created for people to get to know what already exists, for people to get to know what is being done. And as some of us, participants of FERN, are saying, probably, but for this meeting, not many of us may have been exposed to those excellent initiatives within Africa. So we're talking about South Africa, but also Egypt. And so having an opportunity like this and to meet periodically, occasionally, to learn from within Africa, but also to learn from our northern partners whose work relates either directly or indirectly to food environment, food systems issues in our continent. And so having a platform that gives people that opportunity to get exposed to what already exists is one way of contributing to addressing that problem. That alone is not enough. I think it has to be a truly open society where people are willing to, openly share and truly share. And so whatever we generate here, the expertise we have, I think as a network, we should be open to helping our kind. We are in touch with the experts in South Africa who are ahead, looking at nutrient profiling, front of pack labeling, and others from Kenya and Ghana as well. And so this pool of expertise, I think I can speak for those I've already contacted. They are happy to share this expertise with anyone who is interested at no cost. And I think that is one way to go. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. It looks like our time is up. But is there anybody with a burning?
Yeah, my hand was up.
Yes, Prof.
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly mention that in addition to what Amos has said, a network is as good as the connections between individuals who are part of the network. So I think we should also take advantage of the fact that we have the opportunity to connect with each other and reach out to each other. Perhaps what the FERN network can also do is to curate such engagements. So somebody has something that he needs to share with other countries who may benefit. They can go through FERN and find out who is likely to benefit from this. Or somebody needs some information and come through FERN, then FERN can project that need for others to help. So that's my comment on what was raised in the text. But I wanted to also just highlight on what Emeka talked about.
Yeah.
The fact that in conflict situations, it's a totally different game. I think that is very true. We need to think about what are the different stages of conflicts and how meeting the dietary needs of people during that process can be addressed. Obviously, within this context, we will not be able to address all the issues, but it's important to even think about assuming a conflict has occurred, there needs to be recovery. How do you secure sustainable access to healthy diet within that context? Otherwise, people get introduced to all these processed foods, which ruins a whole generation's dietary practice. Thank you.
Very, very right. Extremely true. Because all sorts of things come in terms as support, only to find out that there's hardly any nutrients in them. Thank you very much. But before we finish, I can see Prof. Irene Ejiri with us. I would want to hear from you before we close. My Dean. Prof. Irene.
Hello.
Yeah, hello.
Good evening, everybody. I've been following and it's been interesting learning. I don't want to comment. I just want to say that I've picked my own. I hope everybody everybody pick their. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, that's okay, but we're really very welcome.
Yeah,
to
thank you.
the group. Yes. So Felix, back to you.
Thank you very much, Professor Dito, for that. If there are any more, unfortunately, we are quite restricted by time. That's why we couldn't take all the questions and address all the comments, but you can continue to put them in the chat box, and the LOC team, the committee, the organizing team will take note of all of it so that we'll address them even after this event as well. So please continue to put it in the chat box. Thank you very much.